Right, we're coming up for another episode of Carney's Conversations. We've got Luciano that's joining us this week. Luciano is one of our members of staff. He's also runs Easysundayzzz, which is a catering project. So he should have some interesting points of view to tell people. Just waiting for him to join us. He's coming through now. Right, should be with us any minute. How's it going, Demetrius, Todd? I'll see you there.
Yeah, George.
How's it going, Beach? All right?
Not bad. How's my reception? Is it all right?
Yeah, all good so far. All good so far. Down at the reliable Carnies.
Oh, you're in it. Cool. Let's see if it lasts the whole session.
Right, for everybody who's joining us. So Luciano's one of our members of staff. Works with our young people. Also he's our resident chef as well. And Luch also runs his own business called Easysundayzzz, which is catering. So I'm sure we'll get onto that. But before we do, Luch, can you just give us a quick sort of background into yourself, into your upbringing, and what was life like for you as a child and growing up?
All right. So as a child, I was born and raised in South London. Originally from Battersea, Surrey Lane, and then I moved on to the borough of Croydon. I went primary school in Fulton Heath, so very familiar with the area. Both quite familiar with Battersea and that side of town. I lost my father due to violence when I was 7, so that really affected me growing up and stuff. And yeah, I guess I think school generally was quite a hard time for me. I think secondary school particularly. What can I say? I had a very and is my reception right now? I just saw something pop up. Can you hear me?
Your reception's struggling a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna move to the other office. 1 second.
Thank you. You're gonna kick Alice out.
Sorry, can we stop, please?
We're giving you a quick.
Stop officers.
Oh no! Can you stop?
We're giving you a quick tour of Carney's, everyone.
Right, well done, George.
Who's that?
All right, cool. Fatch.
Ah.
You know where to see you, bro.
Fatch will be on here soon as well.
Yeah, I know.
George, I was outside talking and Luch came by and I thought, let me pop in and be a part of his journey on Carney's Community Talks. And then I realised that I don't even like Luch and now I'm going. Bye.
You're not eating me again.
I'm joking.
So that was Fatch. He'll be doing his own Carney's Conversations in a couple of weeks' time with us. So you're on your own again now, Luch.
Sorry, yeah. Where do you want to start from? All right, let me start.
That's cool. So you were talking about school. You were saying school wasn't the easiest thing to deal with.
No, it wasn't really the easiest thing to deal with. Primary school, generally, I remember there was probably 2 or 3 teachers that were very, very supportive, especially with the loss of my father. But then I remember equally there was a teacher there and she was very unsupportive. I remember being upset one day. And I don't know, for whatever reasons, she had known I was upset and she had asked why. And I basically explained I was upset because of my dad and obviously I was thinking a lot. And her response to that was, oh, so what? Everyone dies at some point. Yeah, so what if your dad's dead? Everyone dies. So for me,
wow.
At the time I was about 9, taking that, it was just like, okay. And I kind of had a lot of aggression in my heart towards her. So yeah, it did really make me feel a type of way. So yeah, moving on from there. Primary school was alright. Secondary school, I went to 3 secondary schools. The first one I was there from 7 to 9. It was an all-boys school. So I think I settled in there alright. I think a lot of people wanted to try me. Very challenging. I was always tall. Like, I remember going into year 7, I was about 6 foot. So I had all the year 11s being like, oh, he's a ringer. Ringer basically is when you look like, yeah, you're older than your age and you pretend to be younger, whatever else. So I'd always, if I'd be like, oh, you're a ringer, whatever else. I remember even there was an incident where I had, a few guys from year 10 watch me in Croydon. And for me, I was just like, with my school, every year had different colour ties. So it's like, it's not like you didn't know I was in year 7. I think I had my little girlfriend from another school at the time, and they was probably thinking, what's he doing? He got to our school, and just wanted to find a reason. So I've always very much been that person to keep myself to myself. I've always been, anyone that's gone to my school, college, even work, I'm very much to myself. I would say working at Carney's is probably the most sociable I've been, and I think that's because of the job role. But school's a bit tough. I remember moving.
Can I just ask a quick question? So, obviously, you spoke about losing your dad to violence at a young age. Did you ever get any support around that? Because that's a traumatic. That must have been a traumatic experience.
Okay, so I did. I did actually have support. My mum, she was very, very supportive. So besides my mum's support, she had taken me to counselling with NSPCC. So I remember I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday at like 1 o'clock, I'd have an hour session with a lady called Ronnie. I actually remember her name. She probably doesn't even remember me. But for me, that was, the support I got from her was priceless. Like I remember even, we had sessions and it was like, she was just trying to find different ways of me expressing myself because I didn't really say much. So even there was an exercise where, say, was doing art, but she was like, if I want to throw stuff around the room to express myself, then do that. And I guess, thinking about it now, that's kind of equivalent to Carney's and boxing. It's like any aggression that you've got inside of you or any anger you can't release, that's the time to punch a bag, or that's the time to, so yeah, I did have support.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah, it was something that was very hard to deal with. All of my family, funny enough, lived on Surrey Lane. So that's both my parents, both my grandmothers. So after my dad had died and I had like moved to Croydon, I always had a grandma that lived on Surrey Lane, so I was always back and forth. And a lot of people know me and I wouldn't know them, so they'll be like, oh, you're blah blah son, and I'll be like, nah, you're you. But generally, my parents were quite known, so it's like in the community, I'd come back and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's Thingy son or whatever else. So yeah, it's always kind of had, I could go Surrey Lane now, and even though there's none of my family on that estate, but it's guaranteed I could go there and there'll be still people to recognise me, or I recognise people from growing up, and it's kind of just, I've always felt comfortable.
Well, I remember when you first came to Carney's, I think Andrew recognised you straight away, didn't he? He's like, familiar. Did you live on Surrey Lane? And then,
Yeah, exactly. So even Andrew, I remember before I came to Carney's, the last time I saw Andrew, I was probably about 10 years old. And we used to like ride our bikes around and whatever else. So it's crazy to come to Carney's and then see Andrew. It was like, oh, wow, like you work here as well. So there was that kind of sense of belonging. When I came to Carney's, it was like everyone made me feel welcome. And the main reason why I came to Carney's is because of Mel. Obviously, Mel was with my father when he got murdered. So yeah, that's my sister's mother. Yeah. And she would tell me what she would do at Carney's, and she would say basically the influence she would have on the young people, and even like their boxing sessions, and for some of the kids that need the support and whatever else. And I thought, yeah, let me just see what it's about. And ever since the first day you've seen me, I think you probably see me every week. So yeah.
But sorry, I interrupted you. You were talking about school, and I think you were saying that you moved on to a different school.
So I moved on to a different school. I didn't really settle well in that school. I had got into problems. And this is another thing as well, because, I don't know, being a young black boy, I was always kind of just painted with that box, like, you're a young black boy, you're in gangs, you're this, you're that. Whereas I was very much different. I was very much like my own. I've always kind of been a lone soldier. So I was never gang affiliated. Yeah, I knew a lot of people that wasn't gangs, and I knew I would know a lot of people, but I'd always make a point of duty to kind of keep myself to myself. I've never really been into mix-up, and my mum, from a very young age, has said friends all the time isn't a solution, because when you grow up, you'll realise that, there's probably only a handful of friends. So that's what, growing up, it was quite difficult because, there's people that always would challenge me. So I got into a situation in that school where my mum was basically going away, and she wanted me and my sister out of the school. So when I finally did settle into a school, I was literally there for exactly a month, and there was an incident with my sister and another girl, and they'd got into a bit of an altercation, and I was made aware that she'd got into an altercation. So at this point, I've gone to basically see what's going on, and I've seen about 3 grown men grabbing her up against a fence. So naturally, that's my sister. I'm very protective over my sister. My family generally, I'm protective, but my sister, that's my little sister at the end of the day. So it's like I've gone to pull them off, and the way they pushed me is, I don't know, it's a push, like the next step would be a fight, if it makes sense. It's not like you just push me off to remove me, it's like you push me, and I've basically nearly fallen on the floor. I'm a big guy, so yeah, that was a push. So yeah, I punched them back, and then a few of them have basically jumped me. So it wasn't until afterwards they identified themselves as undercover police.
Right, okay.
So by then, literally the whole school was at the scene, and literally it's me with a group of police, and then my sister with a group of police, where they claim to be restraining. It actually ended when they had my head on the ground, and they had their knee in the back of my neck. So even with everything that's going on in George Floyd and everything that's going on in the world now, it's very much hit close to home. So even I'm talking about it now, and it's kind of making me emotional because it's taking me back to there. But literally, I remember their knee in the back of my neck, my head was on the ground, I couldn't breathe, and I honestly felt like I was going to die. And it's not until they kind of noticed that I wasn't breathing or I had calmed down, because at this point they had tasered me, they'd done a whole... I've got like a scar on my back where they basically beat me up. So yeah, like I've had my head on the ground, and yeah, at that point, that's when they basically lifted me up. So at this point, bearing in mind I'm 15 years old, I'm in full school uniform, and they basically got like my school shirt stripped open, so I've got my string vest on underneath, my trousers are basically at my ankles, so I've been humiliated in front of everyone in front of the school. So yeah, got arrested. This was just after school, so by the time we got to the police station, it was about 4 o'clock. And after 4 o'clock, yeah, we was literally just there. I think my face was quite swollen. I was beaten quite badly. And I think because they've got like their doctors in the police station, they probably didn't want to take any pictures. So they basically waited for the swelling to go down. And then at that point, I think my mum had come to collect me, but she nearly got arrested too. Because at this point, she was like, which one of you has put your hand on my child? So yeah, it was quite deep. And then my sister, me, I'm someone that more think about consequences. So I think for my dad being murdered and certain situations happen in life, I always try to think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But my sister, she's a bit more hot-headed. So when like they've gone to give her food, she's basically thrown it. Obviously, she's not interested and whatever else. Whereas I've learned that, I don't know if it's got anything to do with being black. Probably more so. But especially like certain situations, they don't, I think every action causes a reaction. And I feel like at that time it was best for me to just not react. By that time, everything's already gone bad. So yeah. Anyways, moving forward, my auntie had to get me from Kensington. Bearing in mind, I was in Croydon police station. She had to come from Kensington. And I didn't get out of the police station until 5 o'clock the next morning. And yeah, with that case, I never ever got justice. I never got justice because the court case was going on for so long. So this happened in June, I think it was 2007 or 8, something like that, 2008. And the court case wasn't until July the following year. So basically, it just was like the whole, with this whole time, it's like, oh, what's going on? Court cases was constantly being adjourned. And then in between that time, I got myself into a bit of trouble, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That had led me to go to court. And with everything that was going on, I hadn't done my plea for the situation with the police. So I honestly felt like I was going to prison. So my solicitor at the time was like, if you plead guilty, then the sentence will be lightened because obviously you've, you know, pleaded guilty. So with that, I basically pleaded guilty to both. So I pleaded guilty to whatever the charges were with the case that happened in between, and I pleaded guilty to the police situation. So obviously that's closed the case. Once I pleaded guilty, that's the case closed. And for me, I never, ever, ever got justice with that. Every job that I've gone to, because even now, even though it's not on my criminal record check, but if you get like a enhanced one, like what I would have for Carney's, you would be able to see everything that's on there. And unless you come to me and say, oh, Luce, what happened, I'm able to explain, I will never get... People always judge me before seeing that. I remember even down to my own granddad. I remember my granddad, I didn't see him for years. And I remember this same situation with the police, I got kicked out of school. So this was in year 10. I literally got kicked out of school. And that's a vital time in doing GCSEs.
So that's had a massive impact on your life then?
Massive impact on my life. Like, I was always academically enhanced. I was always in top sets in school. I was always just on point with certain things. And I had like goals and dreams. And I feel like with that, that kind of set me back. It did put me down a lot. It made me feel like I was incapable. Even when it got to the time of going to college, I remember going to a college and it was a black woman as well. And that's what I think hurt me more, because she was already talking down on me. She was like talking like, oh yeah, she's read this and this is how it goes, without actually asking or understanding. And I remember applying for another college. And yeah, exactly. I remember applying for another college and there was a lot more understanding and I felt more welcome. So naturally I went to the other college, but I felt like this has always been something that has affected me. And all right, look, George Floyd is now, the situation's happened with him, rest in peace. And it's been brought to everyone's attention. But there are so many cases that happen. And even down to a few days ago, I was looking for, I thought, oh yeah, I'm doing a talk with George. Let me see if I can find it in a newspaper. And I remember at the time, I did make it to the newspaper, but from whose perception? It wasn't my perception. Do you get what I mean? Like, it will always be, oh yeah, young black boy this, or young black boy assaults police officer, without understanding the roots of it, or what's, or maybe it's
a label. It's made. You've been labelled. So people have will see one little statement about you, and they'll make their judgment on you based on that, not based on your actions for the rest of your life that you've been living. Not any of the positive things. They'll take one look at that and they'll make a judgment. And I think this is kind of one of the issues that I've got with criminal records. And I mean, like you're saying, if you get an enhanced check now, it will still come up. And I think one of the myths that people are told when they are arrested is, oh, well, if you plead guilty to it, then it will be wiped off your record when you're 18, which is nonsense. It never gets wiped off of your record. And I think it's really important for people to be aware of that. And I think also, I'm going to go on a rant now, but I think also if we're really a society that believes in rehabilitation, why have we got enhanced criminal records checks, which means that you can commit an offence, or you can be accused of and found guilty of committing an offence at 15, and you're still being judged on it in your 60s. We've got to change the system where we're not creating more and more barriers to people getting into employment, because that criminal record is a big barrier to employment. A lot of people, they'll look at one CV, look at another, see that you might have a criminal record, and say, oh, I'm not going to take a risk with that. I'm going to go for the person who's not got a criminal record, which could be because of the fact that they've never been caught. It could be because of the fact that they've not been stopped or targeted by the police because of the way they look, because of the colour of their skin, and yet you're being judged differently to them because you've got this record, which isn't right. So
yeah, literally. And the worst thing is, I agree 100% with what you just said. The worst thing is, you could have two applicants for a job, and one of them might not have a criminal record. One of them might, and the one that's got the criminal record is probably even more likely to work harder to strive because of what they've been through, or because of, do you get what I mean? So yeah, no, it is unfair, and it's like it's like, okay, you don't get a chance. It's like, all right, unless, as I said, you come across someone that's willing to hear you, which a lot of the time, and a lot of these big establishments are not willing to hear you. Do you get what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, it's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. So the whole George Floyd incident must have brought up a whole load. Well, it brought up a whole load of feelings for lots and lots of people. So, but for you, it must have, especially having experienced it yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah, it did. And the thing is, I even started the video that I showed you last week. I never, even down to this live, you will never find Luciano on a live or anything like that. Like, I'm not really that kind of person. I don't do public speaking. I'm not, do you get what I mean? I kind of speak when I have to. But I feel like it's necessary, especially in this case. I feel like, I don't know, my story could reach out to someone else that's maybe gone through a similar thing. Or, I don't know, if something was to arise, they kind of know their rights, or they know kind of how to deal with the situation. Because when you're being dealt with in that way, how do you deal with the situation? Like,
yeah.
Do you get what I mean? What is the answer? What do you do? So I feel like at this point, I feel like this has been a necessary time for me to kind of share. And I think rather than talk about all negatives, because we've spoken about quite negative things, but yeah, it's just talking about how, do you know what? Negativity doesn't have to determine your life or determine where you're going. Literally, I feel like it can be the root of something great. I feel like some of the things I've experienced has kind of made me want to not be that stereotypical black guy, or want to, you know, even going to jobs. I remember so let's go start my first job. My first job was Sainsbury's.
Before you go on to that, so I just, when you say not to act like that stereotypical black guy, what do you mean by that?
Like, there's a lot of stereotypes around black guys. Like, I feel like people will think, oh yeah, black guy, negative perception, or they're on the roads, they're in trouble, they're gang affiliated. There's loads of negative labels that come with black. Do you get what I mean? I feel like now, with everything happening with Black Lives Matter and whatever, yeah, it's kind of being put on the forefront. Like, yeah, everyone can see, but these are things that have been going on for years and years and years, and it's literally overlooked. There's so many types of racism that happens on a daily basis, and people at times don't even know that they're being racist. Literally, people at times do not know that they're being racist, and I can even, I feel like it's just, for me, even for a lot of our young black kids, I will always say to them, don't let people feel like they can create a perception of you. Always be able to, especially articulating yourself. Like me, I'm someone, I can have a conversation with you. I could go for an interview and speak completely different. I could talk to a young person and they can speak to me on a level. I might speak to my grandmother different. So I feel like as a black boy, it's like you have to work extra hard, or you have to make that extra effort. But I feel like it's important to a lot of people. They'll be like, oh, well, I didn't expect him to be so well-spoken, or someone might see me how I'm dressed now and think, oh yeah, he's in this clique, or he's from this estate, or they create that perception. So I just feel like it's just important for people just carry themselves in a way where from the outside they can't be drawn a certain way.
I mean, the reason I stopped you and brought you back to that is just because you kind of just moved over that very quick. So you're like, oh, just stereotypical black boy, But I think so for you and for I imagine a lot of black people, it's that is the norm, and so you do just kind of brush over it. But for white people of other ethnicities, that's not the norm for them. And I think this is one of the messages that I think Black Lives Matter is really trying to get out there and express, which is that yes, what's happened to George Floyd is terrible, but actually there's loads of other really negative stuff and really negative opinions and views and thoughts that people might have, especially of black males, that black males are having to deal with on a daily basis, and it is just the norm. And I think when people are talking about structural racism, that's the kind of thing that they're talking about. And you were saying people will be racist without even realizing they're being racist. And I think that is the case. And I think that's, hopefully, this is what the whole Black Lives Matter movement is gonna try and change, which is that people are gonna start being a bit more open-minded and hopefully willing to see that colour is but a colour, and actually you need to judge a person on their actions and just what they're doing rather than what they look like. And I think this is, yeah, like you say, people have been outraged at what they've seen from George Floyd, from the George Floyd murder, but it's something that's been happening for a very, very long time. It's not something that's just happened this year and we're like, oh wow, this is terrible. This is something that's been going on and on and on and on and on. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole load of other issues that Black people are having to face up to and having to deal with, which is not easy, and yeah, doesn't create for a equal society.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like nowadays, because how much cases happen and how much actually make news. Do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
How much situations happen with police and stuff and it doesn't make news. And I feel like it's hard to trust like the system, because I mean a case like what's happened with me would make me never, even if I was in a situation where, oh my gosh, you should call the police, I wouldn't call the police. I would rather just suffer in my situation because of my experience with them. And there's a lot of people that's out there, and I will never encourage anyone to be like, oh yeah, forget the police or whatever. I would always say, okay, well, your experience, I've had mine, and I will never try to like kind of force my views or opinions on anyone, but this is why I feel this way. And I've got history to explain why I feel this way. Even now, I will have a shower and I see a scar on my back because of that situation. So it's kind of hard to not think about or not.
Yeah. And I mean, we've got this. I'm seeing Real Ebony Queen coming up with some comments saying that these things happen all the time and that people are just focusing on this because of lockdown. And I do think, I mean, we know these things happen all the time, and I do think that there's a real big focus on it because of lockdown, and people have got nothing else really to focus on. But I also see it as a massive opportunity, and I think it's down to everyone in society to really ensure that this is a topic that's carried on with, that we're not just like, as soon as people are allowed out again and allowed in bars, in pubs, in clubs, sports clubs, okay, we forget about it and we wait until another 30 years like we did from Rodney King. But I think it's down to us as a community, as a society, to make sure that we don't allow that to happen, and that we try and push this movement forward as much as we possibly can, and we don't let people ruin it. I mean, I saw some clips of Tommy Robinson talking about going down to the next load of protests and essentially instigating violence. And the purpose of him doing that is because he wants to try and portray Black people as thugs. So he's going to try and wind them up and dig at them until he can get some sort of reaction out of them, which is why we're kind of pleading with the young people we're working with not to go down there and feed into what he's trying to do, because this is a real issue and a real movement that needs to be kept going until it's resolved. And when lockdown's over, we need to keep pushing, because it's not an issue that's going to be fixed in the next year. It's an issue that in reality is probably going to take generations until we can create some true equality. But it's down to all of us to make sure that we do stay focused on it, and we do keep highlighting when these incidents do occur and we challenge it.
100%. I think even knowing your rights, like as a young person, a lot of them don't know that, okay, if they are being stopped and searched, that they can take their badge number or ask for a slip and stuff like that. So police will take advantage where they can. And I feel like for a lot of people, it's not fair, because I've been stopped for just walking on the road, and why am I being stopped? Oh, you fit a description. What description do I fit? Okay, I'm a young Black boy. I'm wearing a hoodie. So I automatically fit a description. That's not fair. Because half the time there's probably not even a description, you're just looking for someone's trouble. And I feel like if they want to be trusted, there has to be a balance. Do you get what I mean? I feel like the system, it's just a system thing. And I feel like, as you said, it might take a very, very long time for things to change. But it is going to have to change at some point. And I feel like everyone, this is happening because of lockdown. But I feel like people need to remember that Black Lives Matter. Because I remember it was several years ago now that there was another protest with Black that are getting offended. I don't know. The screen seems to be loading. I don't know if it was
you cut off for a minute, but I think you're back with us.
I'll say and there's I'm going off track now. See. But yeah, there's it shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to be reminded that Black Lives Matter. It should just be a standard thing. But if things are how they are and they continue to be how they are, then yeah, if we need to keep reminding people, then we keep reminding people, and it's not for people to take offense, especially the people that's not Black. It's just saying that, you know what, we matter as much as you do. A lot of people's like, oh yeah, well, Black lives matter, all lives matter. But yeah, okay, we didn't say all lives matter. It's just about understanding what happens in the Black community and why certain things may be harder, or why the struggle might be more, or just having some reasoning. That's all.
And I think one of the benefits of social media is that you get a lot of memes going around and photos and explanations, breaking things down to people. And one of the ones that I found useful was someone was saying that the argument of why they say Black Lives Matter rather than all lives matter is, the example they gave was, right, if you're in your neighborhood on your street and the neighbor over the road's house is on fire, you go and knock on your next door neighbor's hand. Oh, our neighbour's house is on fire, quick, get some water and let's go and put the fire out. And then that neighbour says, well, hold on, what about my house? So your house isn't on fire. Yeah, but my house matters. Why are you going to go and save their house when my house matters just as much? Yeah, but your house isn't on fire. Yeah, but it matters. And that for me, I think that's the thing that really sort of brought that home with me. And I also wanted to pick up on something else that you said. So you were saying it was quite often the racism is systematic racism, and it's within the systems. And I think that's a really important thing for people to realise, because I think we've got a lot of people who are not racist, who do not consider themselves racist at all, but they're in a system that has sort of like racist algorithms within it. And those are the things that need to be changed. And so when people talk about things like the police, whether there's racism within the police, and they say, well, hold on, there's loads of Black police officers, they're not racist. Okay, they might not be racist, but they're in the police system, which does need changing, because there is some systemic racism within that police organisation. So it's deeper than just looking at individuals. It's looking at the actual systems that we've got in place and how they are stereotyping against certain groups of people.
Yeah, 100%, definitely, and that's systematic racism. There's so many different types of racism. I don't know if I asked you the other day, but I was like, is there such thing as banter racism? Where people actually feel like they're being funny. They don't actually, I don't think they mean to be offensive, but they're being racist when they're doing it. And I've had that experience a couple times, especially working, where it's just like, do you even know that you're being racist now? And a lot of the times I try not to be close-minded because racism is something that really, really, really bothers me. Like, I would say, yeah, it's something that really, really gets to me. So the moment I hear, and it's really bad because there's a lot of people that aren't racist. But if I hear, like, say, for example, someone white say Black, it's like my ear just, and I'm like Black, or I will listen out because I'm thinking, okay, I'm sensitive to that. For a period of time, I lived in quite a racist area. I used to live in New Addington, and there was some racism there. I experienced racism with someone basically calling me a Black nigger, and I didn't really. It led into a fight, and then there was drunk. But every time there was drunk, there was racist. Or wait, George, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, yeah. It's like every time there was drunk, there was racist. So I remember even when they were sober, and then my friends said, oh, they want to fight. And I was like, oh, this is long. I'm not here for that. But I remember I met up with them, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I've got Black friends, blah, blah, blah. And then next minute, again, you're calling me a nigger. And I'm just like, you know, even him, I'm just like, all right, you're racist when you're drunk. You must be racist. It's what, when you have a bit of alcohol, that's when the racism comes out. That doesn't make sense. Also, I remember... Alright, so Sainsbury's, I remember one time my friend was going through a lot. I was basically doing my job, but at the same time, I was being supportive of her. I was giving her advice. She was basically crying. She had a situation with her partner, and it was quite a deep situation. So I'm advising her that I'm trying to help her out. Next minute, my manager's called me in. I've got a disciplinary. These times I was there for probably a few months, but I was like one of the top employees. And it's like, okay, I've got a disciplinary for something that I didn't need to get a disciplinary for. But the same person that gave me a disciplinary, 2 years later, they got done and imprisoned. They got imprisoned for fraud. So it's just like, come on. My following job after that, I remember I was a bus driver. So I started being a bus driver when I was 20. So yeah, I was the youngest in the garage. And I remember there's a lot of old people that work there, and there are a lot of old white men that work there too. And I remember not saying that they'd done anything that was racist directly, but I could just tell that I could get that aura from them that, oh yeah, they're judging me, like, oh yeah, he's this young black boy, or whatever. Like, he's this young black boy, and they've already got their perception. Even my manager at the time, he used to call me Will Smith. And for me, it's just like, all right, Will Smith is not a bad looking fella, but I don't look like Will Smith. We're probably the same skin complexion. That's about it. So it's just like, there's this racism every day. And people don't even realize that they're being racist. Another situation, this is what gets to me. 2018, I don't know if I've even told you the story before, but 2018. So yeah, I'm an Uber driver as well. So 2018 New Year's must have been about 1 a.m. So this is when everyone's gone to watch a fireworks, or they've gone to have a drink or whatever. Anyway, this particular middle-aged white couple, they were going home. So I picked them up on King's Road. So King's Road, for those of you that don't know, it's in Chelsea. And where was home? I think home was Baker Street or something like that. So you know that there are people that they've got money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember the first thing that the guy said to me is, "Where are you from?" So I was thinking, okay, good evening. So I was like, good evening. How are you? You know, he's like, where are you from? So I said, South London. And I was like, no, where are you from? No, first of all, I said London. Then they said, no, where are you from? I said South London. Then they asked me again. So I said, what do you mean? What's my heritage? Like, where do my family originate from? So then I said, yeah, my family originate from Jamaica. Cool. He's like, oh, I know a lot of Jamaicans. Well, I know a few Jamaicans. Most of them are in prison. So I was like, haha, so funny. Like, kind of left it. So then me not being closed-minded, I'm like, continuing conversation. And then I've like said, so have you been to the Caribbean before? And I think this is when the wife had answered at the time. So the wife started speaking. So she was like, yeah, we've been to the Caribbean. We went to Barbados. So I was like, okay, cool. Usually white people, if it's any island in the Caribbean that white people love, it's Barbados. Yeah, because, yeah. So anyways, I've said, did you enjoy your holiday? Oh, no, I didn't really. I struggle to be in places where people don't have much money and they don't have much. So for me inside, I'm thinking, whew, I don't like racism. And you're in my car right now. So, you know what? Then I literally was like a minute silence, and I said, you know, I'm not gonna give you the response you want. I'm not gonna give you that typical black boy response that you probably think I'm gonna react to. I'm not gonna go off on one. So I literally said, well, to be honest, I feel like it should be part of the curriculum where everyone has that experience of going to a country where they may have less. Because generally, those are the places that you'll go, and those are the people that work together and are united and are happy. They don't need to depend on materialistic things or money to get by. And literally, she shut her mouth. And then literally, just before, probably 2 minutes before I got to Baker Street, they asked me if my grandparents came off the 90s, 50s boat or whatever else. So by then I was like, you know what? But it's disgusting. Like, this is the beginning of 2018. 2018, and these are the questions that I'm being asked. I was born and raised here. Like, yeah, I've visited Jamaica a couple times. I've gone to other countries and whatever, but this is my home. Why, as a black person, should I feel like you asking me these questions? It's making me question whether I belong here or not. It's disgusting. Yeah. And I feel like that needs to stop, because this happens to people all the time. And I feel like even in that situation, they're speaking to me like I'm stupid. Like, when you're speaking to me in a very patronizing tone. You're speaking to me as if I'm not one of you. Do you get what I mean? I feel like it's disgusting. But as I said, even me responding to them like that, after the journey, yeah, it did upset me a bit. But I thought, you know what? I needed to respond in that way. So you're going to go home now and you're going to think about what I said. Exactly. And think about how you will deal with that situation again. So that's going back to what I say about knowing as young black men or even black females, knowing how to conduct yourself, knowing how to be able to put your words together, and knowing how to, do you get what I'm saying, adapt. It's so important.
Well, this, in my opinion, this is why white America found Martin Luther King so dangerous, and eventually led to his assassination, because of the way he carried himself and the way he communicated. He didn't behave in any sort of way where they could criticize him, whether they could challenge him over what he was doing. He came with logical, educated, sensible responses and arguments around why racism is there and why it shouldn't be there. And that was just too much, and it resulted in his assassination. But that's why I think he was such a strong, powerful person, because he was able to put that message across in a way where they understood it.
Exactly, but that's another thing. It's like, oh, you don't want to hear it. It's just like you want to stay in your beliefs, and once someone kind of steps out and speaks up, it's like, oh no, we must be silent. And I feel like even for yourself, George, you're a white man, but you understand, you get it. Even seeing you work with a lot of the young people, you understand. And I think for a lot of people, it's just not being aware or not even being open to wanting to understand. There's a lot of people that's just closed off, and it's just like, okay, they don't want to know or whatever. Yeah, do you know? You're still black. You're not the same as me, or we must be different. Where that's not right. Do you get what I mean?
I think it's about trying to understand, but also recognizing that unless you've experienced it yourself, you don't really understand. And I think that's what needs to happen. Of course, I don't know what it's like to be a black person. I hear what people say it's like, and I try and understand that. But unless I've walked in a black person's shoes, I can't know what it's like. And it's about understanding that and knowing that and being open to the fact that you don't know that. And that's the whole non-judgmental side of things that we try and push through Carneys. It's that you can't judge another person unless you've walked in their shoes. And it doesn't matter whether they're black, white, whatever. If you haven't walked in their shoes, you can't judge them because you haven't had their experiences, so you don't know what it's like for them.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And saying that, actually, working at Carney's has showed me that we have a mix of kids. Yeah, we've got black kids. We've got kids from all different backgrounds. We've got black kids, we've got white kids, we've got Asian kids. We've got kids from everywhere. And the way they are with each other, they don't look at each other's skin color and think, oh yeah, you're black or you're white, I'm going to deal with you different. Everyone is just, it's a community, it's a family. And that's how it should be everywhere. You shouldn't have to go to a certain place to feel safe. Do you get what I mean? Someone shouldn't have to come to Carney's and be like, oh yeah, do you know what? There's not going to be racism in Carney's, or this is my place where I feel home. That should be standard. Do you get what I mean? Like, it should be standard. And half the people that are going through this as black, whether you're, as black people generally, have been here for most of their lives, or have been having to go through life as everyone else, or has been going to school, or through the education system, or having to look for a job, or having to pay bills. So it's like, why does there have to be a divide? But can't say there'll always be a divide, but I feel like as long as I'm alive, there will be a divide. And I feel like I think it's just awareness. It's awareness and educating yourself. Because I feel like once you educate yourself, you can educate others, but you have to be willing to educate yourself. And that's everyone on the whole. That's everyone on the whole.
I think we've got a few people commenting actually saying there's a lot around, there's a lot of stereotyping and prejudice around classes and economic status as well. And I think that's definitely true, where there can be a lot of judgmental people looking at people from other classes. And if I'm honest, I think that goes both ways as well. I think it goes from the lower classes to the upper classes, and from the upper classes to the lower classes. And it's around, I mean, as humans, we tend to try and find differences and criticize, and it's around trying to change that and finding differences and seeing that as a positive. We've only got about 15 minutes left on this, Luch, and I'm aware, like, I wanted to find out a bit more about how you got into Easysundayzzz and all that sort of stuff, with how you got into the cooking. So how did you get in? How did you get into all of that?
All right, cooking. Believe it or not, I've never gone to college or I've trained to be a chef or anything like that. I feel like it's just been a case of, I guess, just working on my confidence. I've been able to cook from the first meal I cooked. My mum and my grandma made me cook rice and stew chicken, and that was the saltiest stew chicken ever. But I could say I think I've got better since then. So yeah, like my mum's always I've been well brought up in a way where she's always made sure that my chores are done. I've always been able to cook. There's just certain things that she has expectations. Do you get what I mean? So I think with that, I've kind of had that skill. Whereas now I'm older, and whereas you live by yourself and you have to kind of fend for yourself, I think I've just enhanced that skill basically. And I think Easysundayzzz itself actually started when I had been on holiday with Royal Mail. Yeah, Royal Mail, that was my last job. And to be honest, I know stuff I shouldn't have within my workplace. They had me suspended on full pay for 2 weeks. So I already knew that, they're basically going to get rid of me. So to be a step ahead, I handed in my notice. And this is when I was waiting for my Uber application to go through. So at that time, I was literally hustling. Like, when you're used to getting a certain income, you have to just kind of make ends meet. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a father of 2. So it's like, ends have to meet. Do you get what I mean? So at the time, I started doing I joined an agency. I was doing deliveries for Dulux Paint. That job was drama in itself because there's so much things I had, so much times I spilled paint out of the van. And it didn't end nicely. I was doing delivery for someone else's Caribbean food. He was a black guy. And he actually got an award he got a Just Eat award, and he done the advert for, I think, X Factor, because he had he got like 3 times the amount of reviews than anyone else on Just Eat. So that was quite inspiring as a black man. And during that time, I think I had like £50 left. And prior to that, a few of my friends had been like, "Oh, Luce, you should do something with food. You should do something with food." And I'm like, nah, not really. I mean, I can cook, but it's not that deep. I don't need to be selling food. And then I literally just started Easysundayzzz one day. I was doing like fully loaded containers. I think it was like rice and peas, chicken, mac cheese, and something for like a £5. And I'd made my money back and more. So my thing's on 5%. So I'd made my money back and more. And then from then I kind of was like, all right, cool. I've got like a little talent, I guess. I've never really had the confidence to say to myself, do you know what? Take this and run with it. And I think everything that kind of happened in life, from school to everything else, it kind of in my mind, it set me back. But now that I've got a bit older, even getting to the age I am, my dad didn't make it to 28, and for me, that's a massive achievement. So I feel like I have to use this time on earth now to be as productive as I can, and to just do what I can to help the young people, do what I can to help myself. And I think that's just kind of what's driven me. So Easysundayzzz has been kind of like in the background for the last couple of years, but I feel like since last year is what's really driven me. Like, without going into too much, I went into a business with 2 friends. It didn't really work out. At the same time, I was in Carney's, and I just saw it as, do you know what, me sacrificing Carney's isn't optional. So let me stick at Carney's and just see what happens. And there was an opportunity for funding I went for. They liked my idea. Obviously, because of the whole coronavirus, everything's been paused. But since I've been at Carney's and I've been doing what I'm doing, I've come across people. I've cooked for Sadiq Khan. I've catered for Marsha, Wandsworth's MP. And I guess I've come across a few people. I've cooked for Stormzy, and I feel like I've come across people that I wouldn't have come across if I didn't if I didn't stick with Carney's, basically. So I feel like Easysundayzzz has kind of rooted from just me kind of just building. I would say it's me building my confidence, as well as me trying to build up other people as well, because
I think it's definitely about building up other people. I mean, so for people to know, Luch does Easysundayzzz, but he also cooks for probably about 60 or 70 kids each Monday and each Wednesday down at Carney's, where they all get free food. And I think for those young people to see a black male doing so well and providing for them, but also running his own business and being a businessman, that's inspiration, and that's showing, that's you role modeling. And you don't know how many people are seeing that and are thinking, right, let me step up. If Luch can do it, and especially after watching this live, if any of them have watched that and hearing your story and seeing what you've been through, for you to be able to achieve what you've achieved so far, that would be inspiration for other people, massively.
Oh, thank you.
No,
I do appreciate that. I appreciate that, seriously. Yeah, it does mean a lot, because a lot of the times, I'm not going to lie to you, I'll be in that kitchen all night and I'll be like, this is long, what am I doing this for? And it's honestly people that give me encouraging words, like yourself, or other people that even receive my food, or the people that will constantly support my business, or even friends. Like, this has shown me a lot about my friends. I'm not saying that all my friends have to come and buy my food, but there's colleagues that I work with, or just people that support me, and I'm like, it means a lot. It means so much, because with that, even with this COVID-19, obviously I haven't been able to do the sessions on Monday and Wednesday, but I've still been able to give back to the community, and that means a lot to me. Even so, you was probably going to get onto that question, but I see that I've got 4% and we've got 8 minutes left, so I'm trying to wrap it up. But even being able to do my Easy Sundays and be able to give back to the community, and even someone messaging you, George, and you forwarding me the message to say, oh, like, they really appreciate the food. For me, that compensates for all that time in the kitchen. Not even the money, because it's not even that. I'm not at a point where I can say, yeah, do you know what, I'm well off, or I'm in a position where I'm going to be in however many years. I'm just like starting back off, and I feel like, for me, that's what inspires me, that's what keeps me going, that's what motivates me. And yeah, man, I feel like Carney's has had a big impact on that. It's kind of just showed me, do you know what, Luce, just continue, don't give up. Like, and I think more than anything, Carney's has shown me my purpose. Because I've gone through like depression and stuff, and I feel like since being at Carney's, like, I feel like there's belonging. I feel welcome. I feel like I'm supposed to be here. I feel like, yeah, I've never been at Carney's and felt unwelcomed or felt any type of way. So yeah, even down to having this conversation, George, I will never, ever be on Instagram Live and talking about my business. So
I think that's the good thing, like you're saying about the young people, where they don't have those sort of stereotype views, but also they're quite open and honest. And you know, if your food's not good, they're going to tell you your food's not good. Whereas if your food's good, they're going to tell you your food's good as well. And I think the fact that most of the chicken and chip shops have gone out of business on a Monday and a Wednesday because everyone's eating your food instead of theirs shows that they value that. But more than that, it is that, like, the messages I get from people, they value the fact that you go out of your way to do stuff for them for no reason as well. So like when they get their chicken wings or their saltfish fritters and stuff that they have that we deliver on a Sunday, that's definitely a highlight to them. You know they're staying in on a Sunday so they can get that free delivery then as well. So but it makes them feel valued, and I think that's what we want to try and do with Carney's. It's not a one-way street with the support that we give the young people. The young people are giving support to us as well. Someone's just mentioned, can we talk about your cooking classes as well? That's something. I'm gonna quickly say what we've been doing. Well, what you've been doing with the cooking classes.
All right, so the cooking classes, I think we're on our fifth or sixth week. But basically, during this pandemic, we haven't been able to do much. So what Carney's and Easy Sundays actually do is provide the ingredients for the cooking classes. Any participants that want to be involved, we deliver all the ingredients to them, and we basically do it via Zoom. So I will teach however many that's in the class a variety of dishes. So far we've done, our first dish was curry, chicken, white rice and coleslaw. Second dish, I was feeling a bit lazy, so we done a pasta bake. Following dish, we done, I think, curry veg and rice. Dish after that, we done saltfish. We do saltfish, spring greens and butter beans. And then yesterday we done meatballs and spaghetti. So we've got a variety of dishes, and it's great because there's different people in the cooking class from different backgrounds, and essentially they're learning life skills. And I feel like that is so important, so important. And I think that confidence as well, that it's helped like raise the confidence. I feel like even in the classes, they do amazing. So it's something I'm definitely happy to even do after the pandemic.
Yeah, we definitely need to carry that on, especially because it means I've got my kids on it, so I get my dinner cooked for me every Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, they're on there too. Yeah, George probably eats it all like he does at Carney's,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know.
Stop putting me up, Luch. But yeah, no, I think you're right. The cooking's got a massive impact on them as well, because they get it's immediate gratification. They work for an hour and then they see what they can achieve and what they make, and you can see the confidence booming. Like some of the young people, we send the photos around afterwards, don't we? Well, most of us send the photos around. Rory and Bob generally eat the food.
Rory,
Yeah, Rory and Bob end up eating all the food and then sending an empty plate around. But we send the food around, and you can see that they feel proud of what they've created and what they've been able to make from just a small amount of ingredients. So it has a massive impact on their confidence.
Yeah, no,
right.
definitely.
So it looks like we're coming to an end of our hour, Luch. Was there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I just want to say, like, especially to the young people, black people, I just feel like just maybe believe in yourself a bit more. I've never always believed in myself, and it's only because of circumstances and life, which sometimes will be the case, will strive you to believe in yourself. But anything that you want to do, you're capable, no matter your skin color. And even there's a lot of black people that will have the perception that, oh no, I'm black, I can't do it, or because you don't see a black prime minister, you don't see black people in a certain league, or you don't feel like they're in a certain league, then that might put you down. But no, continue to strive, because we're equally capable. And I feel like with how everything's going on, there's going to be a change in the future. So keep going, keep doing what you're doing, believe in yourselves. And black people need to work together and stop fighting each other. This ends beef and all of this needs to stop. Can't you see that there's already a divide that's going on in the world? So something needs to change. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like the children are our future. So we as adults need to lead by example. And yeah, that's that. That's all I really got to say.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Luch. This is a great conversation.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
George.
Learn a lot about you as well that I didn't know, so I appreciate it. And we're getting loads of positive comments as well. So thank you very much. And if everyone, make sure you...
If you don't follow Carney's community, they do so much. It's worth following 100%. So follow Carney's, get the word out there. They have conversations.
And if you like food,
on Thursday, so tune in for the next Carney's conversation.
And if you like food, follow Easysundayzzz.
Yeah,
that's the best way to get it.
Follow Easysundayzzz. Follow Easysundayzzz.
That's the standard.
Easysundayzzz are 3 Zs.
I'll speak to you soon. All right, cheers, mate. Bye.
All right, cheers, George. Have a good evening, everyone.
Cheers.